Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Coach Chris with the Cerebral Edge Show, the only show that makes you to be 1% better every day. And today we're going to talk about something a whole lot of trainers and therapists out there don't really talk about so much, which is breathing, right? Now, obviously you're breathing or else you'd have a very bad day right now, right? But we're talking about breathing versus breathing proficiently for both rehab as well as athletic performance, right? So there's a couple drills that I really want to show you and press upon you. But first, let's back it up. Why is breathing important? Why is it good for rehab? Why is it good for athletic performance, right? Well, one of the reasons for that is your brain basically survives off of two fuel sources, right? Actually, three, technically, right? So we have oxygen, we have glucose, and then the other one's finally movement, right? So all three of those things help fuel your brain. But anyway, oxygen is one of those most important primary fuel sources for it. So therefore, when I have people who have had brain trauma, things like that, especially like whiplash or something like that, because where the brain stem lives, that's where your breathing pattern lives too. So it's not uncommon for somebody who's had a concussion, maybe even 3-5 years ago, still have a dysfunctional breathing pattern, okay? Because that area of the brainstem has been disrupted. So therefore, you have to reprogram yourself how to breathe once again correctly and more efficiently, right? It's not like you're not breathing, right? But to breathe more efficiently is to be able to bring it down into the lower lobes of the lungs and get your diaphragm to move. Now, when it comes to athletic performance, right? Why is that important? Why is it important for your diaphragm to be able to move up and down for athletic reasons? Well, one, if you're looking at it through the eyes of a Olympic weightlifter or even a power lifter, or just to be able to move something really, really heavy, you have to use something which is called the Valsalva maneuver, right? Which is basically you breathe in a bunch of air, you brace around your core to keep that intra-abdominal pressure to keep your spine nice and rigid, right? So to be able to do that, your diaphragm has to be able to move really, really well. So that way you can not only breathe in, but then also brace around it. So that way you can lift really, really heavy weight. The other thing too, is if your diaphragm is kind of stuck up and you're stuck breathing just in the upper lobes, it can also throw your core function off. So I've seen lots of people that'll come in, I'll check their gait and I'll watch them move. And I'll see something like their SIs, right? Or their sacroiliac joint or down by their butt just is not moving very smooth and it can get really locked up. And I've done breathing drills for those people. All of a sudden I'll see them move again and walk down and back and they'll be moving much better. Another one, people will come in a lot of times with, either a tight neck or shoulder. And the first thing I'll do is I'll assess, how are they breathing? Can they bring that breath really deep down? And if they can't, then that's something I know I'll have to work on, right? So one thing you can do on yourself right now is you can assess yourself like this. So you could just take your neck right as far as you can, okay? And then you can go left as far as you can, just to see if there's any tightness there, where you're feeling tight, right versus left. And the first thing I really want to show you is it's called a diaphragm reset. Now, I learned this from Reflexive Performance Reset. It's a really great system to learn, to show you how to wake different parts up. This one's a diaphragm reset. So the other thing you're going to do is assess how you're breathing, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to put your hand on the top of the chest and then on the belly. And what I want you to do is I want to take a big, deep breath in your nose and see where you are breathing into. See if your bottom hand moves, or see if it's your top hand that's really coming up and down, right? And if you feel your top hand coming up and down and you find it really, really hard to get down into your belly, this is a drill that you're going to do. So first you're going to take your thumb and you're going to start right underneath your collarbone here, right on your sternum. And you're going to press in just a little bit and it'll create a little bit of discomfort. You're going to take that skin and just kind of move it up and down. And you're going to go all the way down your breastbone, all the way down until you come to this little notch area right here, which is your xiphoid process. Then you're going to take your two fingers and you're going to start working underneath your rib cage, right? All the way down and then all the way back up, kind of an upside down Y pattern. So all the way down to the inferior angle or lower edge of the ribs and then all the way back up, right? And you take your thumb and you're going to start working all the way back up and through here. Now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to set it with Superman breaths. So to do this, you're going to take your hands and put them just underneath your rib cage here, and then you're going to breathe in your nose, and you should be able to feel that you're able to bring that breath a little deeper, a little easier to get down there. Then you're going to do 2 more breaths, and even feel it in the back. So not only do you want to feel your sides, but you also want to feel maybe even your back. You're able to expand some air back there too. Then you're going to come back and you're going to reassess, right? And go, how does my neck feel? And already my neck feels a lot better, a lot looser, back and forth, as well as you should be doing it too, just to feel what a difference that makes, right? And if it makes a difference there, you can also assess different things. You can even assess strength if you wanted to. So you could go drop down, do 5 push-ups, see how hard that is, right? Then come back up, do your RPR reset for your diaphragm, do your Superman breathing, go back down, do 5 more push-ups. See if it doesn't feel more efficient, right? Because the best athletes on the field too are the most efficient movers. And if breathing is one thing you can do to make yourself a more efficient mover, all of a sudden you have better athleticism over your opponent or whatever your daily task is or what you're doing on the field, right? So the other thing that breathing has to do with, and I'm going to touch on this a little bit, but is also like anxiety, right? And getting really, really kind of in your head and anxious and all that stuff, right? Some of that's due to also how your breathing pattern is doing as well. So if you're breathing in your upper lobes a lot and you get frustrated and all of a sudden your day just starts going really, really bad, you're going to have an altered breathing pattern as well. You're going to start getting in those upper lobes, right? So to bring yourself down into a better state, right? You could do this while you're taking a walk, or you could do it, in your room, however you want to do it. But it's called box breathing, right? So basically box breathing is, you think of it as a box. So you think about 4 seconds, right? So you want to inhale for 4 seconds, then you're going to hold it for 4 seconds, then you're going to exhale for 4 seconds, and at the end of that exhale, you're going to hold again for 4 seconds. And you do that for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then you see how you're feeling and moving after that. See if your mental state is better now because of your physiological state, right? Because when you're able to breathe deep, again, it goes to that brainstem, which then can also start to bring up your parasympathetic nervous system, or your rest and digest, versus your flight or flight that might be in control, creating a lot of anxiety at that moment, right? So I use this with a lot of people that come in that are highly stressed for a workout, right? Because when people come in for a workout that are highly stressed, it's a really, really good recipe for an injury, right? Because they're all wound up and ready to go versus being fluid and a good, efficient mover. So if you're too wound up, right, you're not going to move very well. As well as if you're way too parasympathetic too. If you're way too calm, then you're not going to be an efficient mover as well. You kind of want to be somewhere in the middle of that. And the more clients you get your hands on, the more you can really assess how that client is. Are they really, really stressed out for that day and they really need some bringing it down, or are they kind of like right in that middle sweet spot to where they are ready for a workout, but they can also move efficiently, right? So one of the best examples of that I could give is people like Michael Jordan or Barry Sanders. When they were moving on the field, did they make it look really stressful, or did they make it look really fluid and efficient, right? Fluid and efficient. That's what you want to be. That's kind of where you want to be when you're working out. That's why things like taking a lot of pre-workouts before going to the gym too, I'm not a huge fan of. I used to be, right? Because who doesn't like to get kind of jazzed and go to the gym, right? But if it makes you a less efficient mover, get your breathing pattern off, and then all of a sudden you ain't able to stabilize as well as you could before, it can be a really, really big recipe for disaster versus good fluid movement. So that is why breathing is so important, not only for athletic perspective, but also rehab, right? One more example I can have for people who have concussions and that, a lot of times protocol is they'll have people do, like a 20-minute cardiovascular work just to get healing for that brain because it's bringing in oxygen, right? But if you're not an efficient breather and you're not bringing enough oxygen for that cell exchange, all of a sudden your rehab's going to take a little bit longer, right? Versus if you're able to breathe a little bit better, breathe a little bit deeper, bring more oxygen in to help that repair in the brainstem, all right? So those are 2 big tips that I want to give you guys today to move better and to feel better and to perform better, right? So you have the RPR diaphragm wake up. So you're going to take your thumb, you're going to push in, and you're going to rub all the way down that breastbone. Take your 2 fingers, come underneath the rib cage, really massage in there. Finish that up with 5 Superman breaths, right? You're going to take your hands around those lower ribs, breathe in your nose, feel that 360 expansion, right? Make sure you're not just filling up your belly, but you want that 360-degree expansion. And then as well as the box breathing. So breathing 4 seconds in, holding 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, holding 4 seconds. Doing this with a walk is really amazing too. You'll notice the effects of that really, really fast. But anyway, thanks for joining me again today. This has been the Cerebral Edge Show, the only show that gets you 1% better every day. Stay strong.